Now we're in Pattern Editor. And of course, the first thing I want to do is to line up all my patterns at the hemline. I'm using my mouse with the scroll wheel on it to get in tight. See how that looks like it disappears? Then I know that they're aligned. Okay, so this one is aligned with this one, so I'm going to select both of these and line it up to the new one. They're pretty much aligned. There. And then I'm going to select all three of these. And line it up to the back. So all of these are lined up. Space them out a bit. Select them all again. Not that. And then copy them down here. The next thing I want to do is to merge my image in. I'm going to shrink this or scale it down to 50%. And then I'm going to move it over here. And as usual, I need to put in the body balance lines. So ungroup all those. I'm going to get rid of this copyright text. And I'm going to shift this up here. And while I'm at it, I'll go ahead and shift the rest of these. Now, remember I've always told you that these grain line markers usually come in ungrouped. So I'm going to group them. Okay, so body balance lines. This is your bust point, so I'm going to snap or right click in the center of it, hold my control key and drag it over, intersect it to here. Your patterns will have the waistline marked, so I'm going to right click at the end of that waistline mark, control key held down and drag over and intersect. Now the high hip and the hip line will need to be drawn as an offset. So my hip drop is 7.5, so half of that is 3 3/4. Offset, space bar, offset. So here's the hip line and here's the high hip line. All of this needs to be intersect to the back, intersected. And then we need to break these in between each pattern. So with the break tool, up here in the command line, it's going to tell you how to do it. Click on the object to be broken. I want to break this line. click or snap to the point where the break is to begin. I want to begin it here. Click or snap to the point where the break is to end. So I'm going to begin and end the break at the same place. So just click again. Spacebar to repeat. Click to select. Click to begin. Click to end. And this is all left click. Click, click, click. Click, click, click. And repeat. And you can tell because you have a construction point right in the middle. And then all of these need to be intersected to the edge of the pattern. Just remember to hit your space bar to repeat. Okay, that's done. Now the only pattern that we have to change is the center front. So I'm going to go ahead and group all these other patterns until I decide to offset the seam allowance. And then I'm going to just kind of scoot these out of the way. This is the only pattern that we need to change. So I'm going to copy it over to here. Now I don't usually use this in my videos, but I've started using this command more and more often, which is a mirror. Let me ZS for zoom selected. Because this is an asymmetrical, I need to create a copy of this front and flip it the other way. So I'm going to do that through the mirror command. Here is the line I want to mirror from. Now when you do mirror, your mirror from line disappears. So I'm going to right click at the end of this bead and right click down here. So this is our center front line. Don't need this anymore. If we look at this overlap, there's a bust line. The overlap's probably 2 or 3 inches above the bust line. So here's the bust line. Let's go ahead and offset it by 2 inches. Okay. We need to take this V-neck and move it to the point would be right at this marker. Let's intersect again. So I'm going to select this line and go to my Move Point tool. Going to right click. It's going to take lines that we really don't want moved, but we can readjust those. And I'm going to right click right there. If I come down here and do a Create Specification for SK, the difference between these two button placement lines is 1 inch. So what I think I want to do, that's 1 inch. Let's put a point, a 1/4 inch in here and here. And we're going to move this, move point tool over to that 1/4 inch point. Now we can get rid of the specification. So here is our pattern. We don't need any of these anymore. We don't need that or any of this down here. Don't need this. Let's do some intersecting from here to here. Get rid of that. Delete that and then intersect these to this angled overlap line. We don't need any of this anymore. Let's intersect the bus point to here and here. Here to here, here to here. Okay. We really don't need this anymore either. Okay, so there's your pattern. For the front, you're going to cut 2, and it will overlap to the princess seam over here. So that's your pattern, and that's all there is to it. You're going to go ahead and select all your stitching lines. Change them. And then offset your seam allowances. Now we do want your hem, which is going to be 2.5 for me, from here. And on this side here, you're going to break these lines at that point. Then you're going to select all those and mirror to here. Draw another line here. You don't need this one. Over here. Offset your seam allowance. Intersect. And there's your hem allowance. You're going to put your hem allowance in each of these three as well and change over to your stitching line. So this was a real easy one. We'd come up here again and then intersect all of these seam allowances. And group. And then to finish it out, you're going to ungroup all of these three, do your stitched lines and your seam allowances and hems. And that's about it. This was a real easy one. Thanks for watching. Happy sewing.